codes involved and QR code scanning. Okay, so it is recording right now, so we can't say anything that we don't want it to be recorded.
Are we supposed to be on our best behavior now? Should I turn my video off? I'm very expressive. I have no poker face.
I can have, you know what? You could have a poker face like that.
But I have to keep doing that.
You have to keep doing it. Like just keep putting it on. And then that would be your poker face.
I like that one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be like, anyone who says the wrong answer in the chat from like, I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I feel like I make that face a lot.
Yeah, I do make that face a lot without knowing.
Yeah. You're like, oops.
Okay, so I am assuming that if anybody comes in, we will kind of see them trickle in. And if they do, we'll go ahead and start the game. That's about it. Have you guys had the chance to chat with anyone so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met with a few people.
Yeah. I was I chatted with a couple people. It was just kind of more on the networking side of things.
I chatted with a couple potentials. It was good.
Yeah. Cool.
Maybe
Did I leave and come back?
You did.
Okay, so note to self: do not, dabble with anything outside.
Oops.
Oops. Note to self. Yeah, I think Michael had the same thing. You like navigated to another tab and did. Yeah.
You actually leave.
Like, yeah, my distraction was like, ooh, tab. Let's see what's in this, and then I'm done. All right.
We have some visitors.
Yes, we have a couple people coming in. Welcome to anyone who's coming in. As we wait for people to come in, join us for our workshop. Let us know where you're joining us from, what city you're from, because there's a bunch of people around Canada. They're joining. I am located in Vancouver right now, so I'll go ahead and kickstart it. So either Calgary, nice. People joining from Calgary. Who's that? Michael. Calgary, Montreal, not sure. Okay, awesome. We are most of us from Solace as well. They're located in Ottawa. Well, so yes,
Yeah.
Ottawa. Oh, I like this platform. How it just like bubbles anyone who chats.
Yeah, I know it's pretty cute.
Yeah, let me see. How can I? If I just type anything, it just goes on my face. Vancouver. No, I think I need to put it in the chat here. I have an idea. Okay,
There's two chats.
Vancouver.
There you go.
Nice.
Whoop, whoop.
Okay, great. So as people come in, we will go ahead and start the workshop. It's almost 5 minutes after. As we wait for whoever is already here, if you can let me know if you can see my screen, that would be great. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I will open. Oops, this is the wrong one. All right, so as we get started for today, like the whole aim of the workshop for today is to kind of give you an overview of what event-driven architectures are and how they compare to REST APIs or like any REST-driven architecture, and maybe like a majority of you have dabbled with REST APIs before, so you'd have some like idea on what we're talking about from a REST API perspective. But before we get started, let's go ahead and play a game, because that would be a good way to start a workshop. Instead of having it only one way, we'll play a game. So what I want everybody is have your phone next to you. The winner gets free swag. To prove that you won, we need screenshots of your score to make sure that you're the one who won. But yeah, prepare your phone with you. And let's go ahead. So I'm going to solace.dev/workshop. So I'm going to do PC with tech. So anyone who's here on the call right now, go ahead and scan this QR code at the bottom right. Basically, we're going to be playing a game of dragonboat. So this game will have, as soon as you scan this QR code, you're going to be assigned a team. So there's like 4 teams. Every team has a color. And, people are joining team pink, green, yellow, and pink and green and yellow. So people are joining different teams. Basically, once we have everybody in here joined, so I think this is it. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 people. So I will, 9 people actually we have. So I'll wait 1 more minute to see whoever's here. Okay. So I will start the game shortly. And as soon as you see the text go on your screen, tap as much as you can on the screen. The faster you tap, the more you tap, the better score you get, basically. All right, get ready, everybody. All right, get ready to tap. Keep tapping. Tap as hard, as fast as you can. And we can see here, the faster you tap, the faster your team goes in. The people in the green team are getting there. Okay. So green team wins for sure. Right now you tapped so much. So we got the most click, 128 clicks. So who got the 128 clicks? Let's see. You could just tell me in the chat. Anybody who got 128, who got the first or the second or the third. We have, if anybody who's like from Solace who got the first, we'll give the swag to anyone who's second.
I'm pink, so I guess I'm number 2.
Maybe it does. It tells you on your phone.
Oh, I'm number 6.
You're number 6.
What?
Okay. Well, whoever got number 1, let me know, and then we'll get back to the game. So keep in mind the game is coming back. Okay. So one of the things people keep in mind is, how do things communicate on the internet from a communication perspective? One way is a REST-based architecture. So some of you here on the call might know what a REST-based architecture is. It's basically really composed of a client-server architecture where the client initiates a request to the server via a REST API, and just waits for the response. The client waits for the response, and in return gets the response back from the server. So this is more of a pull-based model where the client is just making the request, waiting for the server to get back. And this is pretty much tight coupling between the client and the server. There are some things that people keep in mind, and some of the questions that you ask when building any application or architecture is whether there's a lot of interactions. You want some real-time feedback, or you want bi-directional communication, like the server wants to communicate with the client as well in a different way. Or what if you want to have a client-to-client communication? If you have multiple clients in a specific architecture and they want to communicate with each other, questions come up and people would be asking, or like a developer would be asking, like, oh, shall the same client be a server as well to have a client-to-client communication? So these are some of the questions that you keep in mind when building kind of a way of communication in and on the internet. Another way is kind of like an event-based architecture, and EDA stands for event-driven architecture, where basically, in a nutshell, if we want to like bring it down to the basics of an event-driven architecture, we have a producer that publishes messages on a predefined topic to something that's called a message broker, which is an intermediary. And then the consumer subscribes to a topic and consumes the payload of that topic. And you can see here, it's pretty decoupled. So what I mean by decoupled is if there is a producer microservice or a producer application, that producer is unaware of all the subscribers or the consumers that are subscribing to the topic that the producer is publishing on. And the other way is correct as well. When a consumer consumes a some payload or a message, basically an event on a topic, they are unaware of the who's the one who produced it. And kind of the message broker is a middleware layer. Feel free, by the way, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. I cannot see the chat window right now, but there's other people there that could answer the questions if you have any questions. Or feel free to unmute and interrupt. So kind of like I want to take a bird's eye view on an EDA, which is an event-based approach to building application versus a REST-based approach. If you think of it at its basic principles, if we look at REST, the protocol that REST uses is an HTTP protocol, and this is a communication protocol that allows a client-server communication that I showed you in the diagram below. Some of the operations, some of the CRUD operations that some of you, most of you have operated with when dealing with REST APIs, whether it's a get, post, put, delete, or patch, these are kind of the operations that you do in a REST architecture. From an EDA perspective, and if you're building an event-driven architecture, the protocol, there are multiple messaging protocols that are available out there for you to leverage. So MQTT, AMQP, Kafka, these are some of the many messaging protocols. So for example, these are some of the many messaging protocols that are used in an event-driven architecture. And basically, these are kind of the protocols that are used to build that microservices architecture that I mentioned earlier. And the operations, there's a publish and subscribe. So if you want to forget about most of the things that are said in this workshop and you want to have like some key takeaways from here, know that in an event-driven architecture, it's different than a REST-driven architecture from the way that the protocols are used and communicate and building the overall microservices architecture. Sometimes, I feel that it would be a lot easier to understand, like, okay, where in the real world EDA is being used, like what are kind of some real-life examples. So I mentioned earlier some of the questions that you ask yourself when you're building a REST-based architecture is if you want to have like a point-to-point interaction. So imagine these are all different microservices and they want to interact with each other on a point-to-point perspective. So you can see that the number of connections would really increase if we're having a single point of contact between one microservice to the other. Even like an IoT use case, if you have a farm that is filled with sensors or a bunch of IoT devices and they want to all communicate and send to an intermediary, and that intermediary kind of goes to other processing of whatever the IoT devices are sending, it could get very hectic very easily and really expand in the way that the architecture is being built. So taking an event-driven approach to the use case that you have to design really kind of streamlines the process of communication and having this real-time communication between different applications. And an example is, right now we have IoT devices and sensors are really gaining a lot of popularity from an application perspective and use cases. So you need to have a solid underlying infrastructure that really supports this real-time processing. More examples of like use cases that in the real world that use behind the scenes and event-driven architecture, the Ubers of the world, the Amazon, the Facebook, the Twitters, and any stock exchange markets, they don't use a REST-based or a pull-based architecture behind the scenes because any delays, we're talking about seconds, could cost a lot of money and could cost a lot of kind of business operation losses. More use cases, anything in the stock market data. So for example, you want to get real-time stock data prices for tickers. Inventory management, you want to know exactly at a specific point in time how much inventory do you have. So you want to have a real-time access to your data. Banking, aviation, gaming, and IoT. So you can see that these are the things that keep in mind and question, like, hey, are they using REST architecture behind the scenes, or are they using some sort of like a messaging real-time infrastructure behind the scenes. So far, I'm gonna pause a little bit, see if anybody has any questions. This is kind of the theory aspect of what I wanted to cover. Again, remember, if you have any questions, just please unmute yourself and feel free to ask me, or if you have any the questions, put it in the chat. So let's go back to our game a little bit, the game that we just played. So let's assume that we want to implement the game. We want to write the game from scratch, reverse engineer it, and figure out how this game was built. Some of you might take the approach of like, all right, if we want to take a REST approach, a REST-driven approach to build the game. Let's say that you have your phones with you, and then there's a server that kind of does all the business logic in a REST-driven approach. And I'm really simplifying this very much to kind of get the idea on what would a REST approach be like to implement this. So let's say that the client would do a GET request to get the game, and then you wait for a response, and then we'll make a POST request, be like, hey, I just joined the game, and then the server is like taking this into account and giving you a particular ID. And now here, the other way around is we want to have like a way for the server to communicate with the client. So this is something I wanted to highlight is, your phone, the one that you're using to communicate with the server, will also need to be a server at the same time. So we'll have to run a server on it to receive any requests from the server. Be like, hey, the game is ready. And every time you tap on your screen, let's say it's a post request, so you're going to be like tapping and tapping and tapping and kind of like sending these actions basically to the server, and then getting back the response to overall the state of the game. So you can see here, like, this is a simplified way to implementing the game that we just played, the Dragon Boat game, in a REST-based approach. Another approach, if we want to take it, is this is kind of the event-driven approach of implementing the game. So let's say that here the clients that you have, the phones, are just sending messages based on a particular on a particular topic, and then the server on the other end is subscribing to these topics. So I want to give you a quick kind of architectural overview diagram on how this has been implemented behind the scene, the game that we just played. And I have kind of like a challenging questions to whoever is on the call to kind of see how can we even extend this microservices architecture further. So I'm going to come here and kind of show you. So this is one of our products, the Solace Cloud. And the thing that I want to delve more into is the designer. So basically, if we wanted to design this game, so this is kind of like before implementation. So if you think of the player boat as your client, basically as your mobile phones, and then you have the race controller, every time you tap into, so I'm going to come back to the PowerPoint presentation just to kind of show you this diagram where the client, the player boat, kind of publishes events onto the broker. And these are kind of the different events that are being published. Let's say that you're publishing a row event, and every event that you're publishing is publishing on a particular topic. So when the player comes in, the player, when you scan your QR code, it published an event saying like, hey, I'm here, for example, and then you publish it on that particular topic. And then you want to join a game, you publish on a different topic. And on the other end, the server is also subscribing to these topics, and every time they receive a particular event, they kind of the server acts accordingly. So this kind of to give you a quick kind of like just a general overview on how an event-driven approach would be to implementing this game. Now, I do have a question for everyone is attending right now, is if you want to extend the game, right? So let's say that you want to add an analytics micro service. And this analytics microservice, so let's say you are working in a team. The Dragon Boat company is a huge multi-million-dollar company, and they're building this game, and they want to really add some sort of like an analytics engine into they want to add an analytics engine to collect analytics. So let's say I want to create a microservice that counts the number of rows every team has and puts it in a specific dashboard. how can I do that given this architecture that I want, that I have? So feel free to unmute yourself, say something, have a comment, put it in the chat. Give me an idea. Let me know how would you go about to add another service into this. Any thoughts? Let me see. Let me come back to the PowerPoint presentation, to the actual browser.
Tamimi, are you asking for the REST-based approach or the event-driven approach?
Well, I would say, like, if you want to add a REST-based approach to this, okay? Let's say that you have, this is your, if you took the REST-based approach and you want to add another microservice to this that really collects analytics, what do you have to do if you're doing a REST-based approach?
Maybe I would do 2 REST calls, like one to the server to move the dragonboat, and then another one to the analytics server to let it know that I moved the dragonboat.
So if you want to do
another option, instead of doing it from the client, doing 2 calls, maybe I do it from the server. Maybe the client hits the server, it's like move the boat, and the server tells analytics, hey, I just moved the boat. With another REST API, can chain it like that.
Okay, that's actually, that's one approach to do it. I'll get back to that comment. Yeah, you bring a very good comment in here. Anybody else has any other ideas, approaches? Do you agree with Kevin? Do you not agree? One approach that Kevin kind of mentioned is kind of putting a request. So like it would require us to modify the already existing architecture. So going into the client code and be like, hey, client, you are publishing a post row request to the server, but also send the same request to the analytics server. Or maybe you could modify the other server to publish. So like there will be some significant modification that is needed. And consider that right now we're only adding one extra service, which is an analytics service. Another approach would be to have the analytics service basically connect to the middleware intermediary and kind of subscribe to a particular topic that we want. So that's one way of doing it. And this is the way the event-driven approach to doing this is, if we take this approach and added a microservice that just subscribes to a particular topic of choice that we want, okay, all the rows, then the client, which is the publisher as well, and the other subscriber are not aware of this extending of the microservice architecture. So this is also another benefit of using an event-driven architecture paradigm to implement a particular topic or implement a particular application that you have, is you can extend your architecture without having a lot of client code modification or even a server code modification into the architecture. So let's have a hands-on kind of way to see this. I want everyone, so we're going to play the game again, but this time we're going to have some modifications to it. So I want everyone to go to solace.dev/workshop. And when you do so, at the bottom of the page, there is a subscriber. All right. So let's assume that this subscriber is our analytics service, which is this one. And we want to kind of get some metrics into this. So we're gonna play the game again, but I want you to, when you go to the subscriber, if you look at the advanced, if you hit the advanced, you'll see that this subscriber is connected to the same broker that the game is playing on. So you can hit connect, and in here, the topic, I will explain further what we're going to do. But let's go ahead and put this in your this hierarchy, this structure in your topic. So both needs, and then I'm going to put star, I'm going to put row, and I'm going to put greater than sign here and subscribe. Okay, everyone did that? Is it good? Let me see this. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and play the game one more time. Okay, everybody has their phone with them. I'm going to get my phone as well to play the game as well. So scan the QR code in here, and I will go ahead and take the phone. Okay, we have one person who joined. All right, so 4 people joined, 5, 6. Whoever didn't get the chance to play the game before, now is your last chance. Now is your only and last chance. That's it, to play the game. All right, I'm gonna start the game in 3, 2, 1, and then make sure that you're back here to see what's happening. All right, let's start it. Let's go. Keep tapping. So check this out. Right now, my subscriber, as I'm tapping as well on my phone, we are getting a lot of messages on different topics. So we have the boat meet topic. So everyone, this is kind of the game ID. Someone won. Pink team also won again. And I ranked number 6 on my phone. I don't know who ranked number 1. If anybody ranked number 1, let me know. You have swag from me if you want swag. But that's also like something that, you know, it's pretty cool to realize that we really extended our microservices architecture right now in a matter of like a minute to add another microservice that just snoops and wiretaps into the actual kind of broker. That's something that you were able to get more analytics and more snooping into what's the traffic that's happening into in the broker by just subscribing to a particular topic. So I wanted to clear the messages over here, hit clear, and then show publisher at the bottom left corner. So let me see. This is something that the last thing for our like workshop today. It's kind of to give you a better idea on what a PubSub architecture approach is. So in this publisher, you make sure you click the connect, and you are publishing to a particular topic. So let's say you're publishing to this topic. So just put your name in here. I'm going to put Tamimi. And then I'm going to make sure that on the other end, on the subscriber, what do you think I have to subscribe to get the topics that to get the messages that I'm publishing on? Protect Tamimi. Like that's the same topic that I'm going to be subscribing to. And if everybody kind of gets the idea, kind of publishes to this topic, let me see this. So I subscribed. I'm going to go ahead and publish to this. So you will see that if you keep publishing, I will keep sending messages as well on that particular topic. Are you all kind of like changing the topic? Because the last kind of thing I want to ask you to do is see if here I'm going to change the body. My name is Tamimi, and you can see that I am publishing to a particular topic, and then my subscriber is getting the messages because I'm subscribed to the same topic of choice. Let me see the messages. Lastly, if I would to see kind of get the messages from everyone as well who's connected, and I kind of showed this earlier from a wild carding perspective. One thing you can do right now is, so here you go. Someone is publishing to that same topic. I can subscribe to Career Tech. This is a wild card, basically. Subscription is, I want to subscribe to everything that is sent to this topic or more. So if anybody could send on their topic with their name, so I can see Aaron, Michael, they're sending topics they're sending messages on their topics, and so here I am as well. So that's something that is helpful to keep in mind from an event-driven architecture. I know I just touched on the basics, but definitely if you go to this URL, basically this site, solace.dev/workshop, there are a lot of resources for you to tap into and leverage from. So I will pause right here. That's kind of technically all what I had for today. We're able to kind of touch on the ideas of PubSub, what an event-driven architecture is, and what differences it has when compared to REST APIs. Now, I'm assuming if anybody has any questions, you would have asked it on the chat. I will go ahead and say that there's no questions, but if you have any questions, I'm just lingering around here. Maybe we have, let me come back to the workshop, the right tab. Okay, so let's see who we have here. That's all. Yeah, that's all I had for you all. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. This page is still up, and you could still go ahead and dabble with it as well, and get a better idea on what an event-driven architecture looks like. So that's it. I will pause here, see if there's any follow-ups, but if not, I will end it for today. And